Ponyville, early evening, 6 days after night. The library is bustling with the last customers of the day. Despite the recent disappearances, ponies still visit the Golden Oaks Library for books of all kinds. Sakura, having taken up Spike's duties, is finishing up the bookshelf as Twilight helps the last few ponies check out their selected literary works. All day the customers have offered their wishes that Spike be found alive, making the unicorn mare all the more anxious for the open business hours to be over so she can discuss the possibilities of what happened with Sakura. Despite sending a letter to Celestia via mail, or without Spike's dragonfire she must rely on traditional postal methods, Twilight believes that her zebra friend holds the key. As she checks out the final book of the day for an unusually anxious young filly, she breathes a sigh of relief. Using her magic, she turns the newly placed sign on the library door to closed as the filly leaves. The sign is something she added so as to ensure no pony would disturb her while she focused on finding out what happened to Spike. Today of all days, she is grateful she did this. For part of Sakura's conditions for sharing what she knows is that no pony but Twilight Sparkle overhear their discussion. With the library officially closed, Twilight Sparkle moves over to the reading table and settles in a chair to wait for her friend. Her worry for her missing assistant is written on her face as Sakura, having finished with the bookshelves, takes a seat across from her. The two sit in silence for a few minutes, both lost in thoughts of recent events in the past 6 days. Neither of the mares wanted to be the first to speak, despite their agreement earlier that day. It's as if speaking would begin the casting of a spell that will change things forever. At last, unable to hold her desire to learn at bay, Twilight Sparkle asks the first question.
So, Sakura, you mentioned you would help me with the information concerning beings and creatures not mentioned in the book.
The zebra shaman nods, responding as calmly as she can.
Indeed I did. Ask me what you wish to know, for I will try my best to answer. It is quite odd being unable to speak in rhyme after so long of a time.
Twilight giggles a bit, the tone one of pain and repressed sorrow more than joy.
Alright then. What do you know of creatures that can make ponies disappear without a trace?
Sakura leans back in the reading chair, a thoughtful and pensive look on her face as she reflects on her knowledge. Reciting from memory, she lists off the beings she can recall.
There is a fount of Legoline, who can absorb one to never be seen again. The dancing grass can swallow you whole. The wandering weeds will devour your soul. Beings from beyond can spirit you away, and in the byways, a mad god holds sway. In every alone there exists a wandering wagon that leads to an abyss. Great Gorgana will try to turn you to stone, and the Emwana can turn you to coal, dust, and bone. The great Sirenia can entrench you with song, and many more can cause things to go wrong. Hookahs will trick, and Leprony will steal, and Ansi will gladly make you its meal. My friend, there are many creatures that I know, too many to list before the fall of snow. Please specify what you wish to learn. We do not exactly have time to burn.
Twilight stares at Sakura, eyes wide.
You just rhymed!
The zebra stares back with eyes wide in shock, for it seems she can still speak in rhyme but only when recalling something, only when reciting a specific type of memory.
That is odd. It seems I can still rhyme when speaking of my memories. If so, then why can I not do so normally?
Her voice filled with confusion. The zebra has a feeling that there is a reason for this odd situation, something important that she cannot recall. However, she is unable to ponder on it more as Twilight Sparkle asks her next question.
Maybe we narrow down the creatures some more. What beings do you know of that can take a pony or dragon without a trace? And maybe melt or dissolve physical objects.
Sakura closes her eyes, recalling what she can.
There is a temperance, but they would turn one to ash the color of silver. Leona would leave some trace, massive paw prints akin to a large cat. The shroud now would leave glistening dust in the air. The trace things might manage it, but they do not melt objects merely lost sentient beings astray to the world beyond. Maganair could be a culprit, but there are no volcanoes or stream vents in the area. Most acidic beings leave some visible trace in the surrounding area and are unable to fully control their abilities.
Twilight leans over, eyes pleading as she begs.
Please, Zecora. There must be something that could do this. The guard said that there was what looked like traces of deep blue liquid of unknown origin on the cart. Would anything you know leave that behind?
Zecora, still deep in thought, clenches her jaw. She knows the answer to this, the creature that fits all the criteria Twilight Sparkle has mentioned. It's a type of fae, a very dangerous one. One so dangerous that even the non-shamanistic zebra tribes have stories about them back home. Yet, each time she tries to think of the name, it's like something is blocking it from her mind. It's right there, barely outside of her mental grasp. She focuses harder, forcing her will to break down the barrier in her mind. She speaks aloud the tale of old as her memory returns, flowing free from the dam that had been blocking it within her psyche.
They only appear once a year.
She begins. The sound of wet footsteps echoes outside the library door.
Be wary, but they have earned the fear.
A sound like slithering, slippery talons lightly grasping the door handle outside can barely be heard.
In the forest they flow, a living fiend of liquid might.
The door to the library opens. Both mares are so caught up in their discussion that they do not notice as a quiet rushing sound, akin to water, crosses the threshold and the door closes with a click.
Be wary of those bathed in water on that night.
The footsteps move closer. A trickling sound like a dancing stream can barely be heard. The footsteps are small and light, like those that belong to a young creature or pony.
They can take any form, liquid fiends of horror born.
The footsteps stop behind Twilight Sparkle. A shuffling sound like nervous feet starts to gain the unicorn mare's attention.
Listen for the sound of streams, where no such thing can be. Monstrous fae with no name, we describe them by the sound they make.
A cough causes Twilight Sparkle to turn her head towards the sound. Upon seeing the figure behind her, she gasps, her eyes well up in tears.
Trickles down the path they go. They will hunt you, if you know.
Zecora opens her eyes, relief flooding through her mind as she feels a weight lifted upon uttering the name of that creature. That relief is short-lived as her eyes settle upon the sopping wet purple and green baby dragon her friend is reaching for. A sopping wet baby dragon that she distinctly remembers seeing 6 days ago on Nightmare Night. A baby dragon who came to her hut with 3 young fillies who turned out to be anything but what they seemed to be. The baby dragon who with the other 3 was really a horrific creature of liquid woe in disguise. A creature whose name she had just recalled, that chased her through the woods and devoured an innocent changeling. A creature so horrible that she begged her friend Twilight Sparkle to use a spell to block the memory of it from her mind. Because if she so much as remembered a single thing about the creature, it could find her. It could hunt her. It would devour her and all others who knew of it. Because memory is the thread that ties it to this world, to her, and to allow it to remain past the dreaded night. Zecora gasps in terror upon realizing what she has done, the horrible, deadly mistake she had made tonight. As the zebra mare sits frozen in fear, Twilight Sparkle can't help but reach for her beloved assistant, her eyes tearing up and blurring, causing her to miss the watery ripples in his form, thinking them to be tricks of the light. She speaks in a voice filled with relief and joy, the kind one uses when speaking to a loved one thought lost forever.
Spike, you're back!
The dragon smiles, tilting his head ever so slightly to the left so as to better see the terrified zebra behind the unicorn. He responds in a voice that seems almost identical to the baby dragon, except with a light sound of trickling water that echoes from his jaws.
I am.
Twilight puts her hooves to her chest, beside herself with relief. She does not hear the sound of the carriage landing outside, or the frantic hoofsteps of a panicked alicorn. Blinded by an unnatural focus on the baby dragon, she cannot hear the pounding on the door, or the orders being shouted to check on the other elements who had also lost some ponies 6 days before. She only has eyes for Spike, his body shifting slightly as if made of a liquid mirror.
I'm so happy you're back. I missed you so much. You had me so worried, Spike.
Twilight Sparkle nearly shouts the last part, though the dragon seems unaffected. His grin merely grows wider, unnaturally so, as he responds with a voice that is filled with the trickling that has haunted the other mare in the room for 6 days.
Why were you so worried?
He asked the unicorn. Twilight backs up a bit in shock, somewhat hurt by the comment just made by what seems to be her assistant and her brother/son.
What are you saying, Spike?
She says in an unnerved tone. The baby dragon tilts his head even more to the left, its neck seeming to ripple and stretch as it does so.
Because...
It says in a voice like liquid silver, holding the word as if waiting for a reaction to finish what it wishes to say. Twilight slowly realizes that the creature standing before her is not her assistant. Backing up faster, she is suddenly caught in the grasp of a trembling and terror-stricken Zecora. Both mares stare with wide eyes, filled with the knowledge that they are trapped by that thing, as its body ripples and distorts into a mass of living liquid that defies logic and could drive any lesser minds mad. And in the center of that liquid, Spike's head remains visible, as it speaks the rest of its sentence with a horrific sociopathic calm.
You are going to be one of us.
The monstrosity known as a Trickle rushes forward towards the two mares, its form melting the sofa between it and its prey. Seconds after it makes its move, an explosion of wood fills the library as the venerable door to Golden Oaks is blown to smithereens by the great Nova Blue aura. The great wave of blue and silver looms over the unicorn and zebra, the sound of a roaring river echoing in their ears like a waterfall of impending death. A flash fills the location where the two mares hold each other in frozen terror, as their doom is but seconds away, so close that they can feel the immense fade aura the Trickle exudes, and one of them can sense still more, for within that aura lay the souls and minds of uncountable beings screaming and shrieking, trapped within the amorphous liquid mass that is their prison for eternity. A prison that the zebra mare accepts will within seconds take her and Twilight Sparkles as its latest victims. Closing their eyes, Zecora and Twilight wait for the inevitable, only for seconds to pass with nothing happening. Nothing but a changed sensation upon their senses as a cool night breeze ripples across their fur. Opening their eyes enough to see, but not let in the sights beyond their eyelids completely, they are stunned silent. The two mares are no longer in the Golden Oaks library where seconds before they faced certain doom. They now sit on the hill over Ponyville under the light of the moon. As their eyes open fully, taking in the scene before them, they alight upon a recognizable and welcome figure standing before them. Midnight blue coat and ethereal mane made up of stars and constellations flowing in a non-existent breeze. Princess Luna stands before them with concern and relief reflected within her eyes. As the alicorn princess of the night and dreams moves towards the two mares, their sense of relief is shattered once more as they recognize the fear in her expression. Lowering her head to look both mares over, Luna sighs in relief and worry.
We were not too late.
she says, as her eyes glancing in the distance towards the Golden Oaks Library, from which a stream of silver blue can be seen flowing into the streets of Ponyville. Twilight Sparkle, shock wearing off of her traumatized mind, is the first of the two to speak.
Princess Luna? What are you doing here?
She says in a voice still tinged with the terror of certain doom. Luna turns her head, the ethereal mane of stars billowing about her head like a dark sun as she replies.
Ensuring that our friends are safe from the Fae kept on this world past Nightmare Night by the threads of memory. It seems we barely made it in time, and now there are only 2 survivors.
She says the last word with a tone of sorrow, as if there is something about surviving the liquid monstrosity that is worse than being devoured by it. Zecora shakes her head, her memories of Nightmare Night clear as they were 6 days ago.
Princess of Dreams and Moon, what do you know of the liquid doom?
Glancing back as the creature makes its way through the streets below, as if following an invisible trail, Luna frowns. Turning to Twilight and Zecora, she responds.
We wish we had time to explain, but we must make haste. Follow me. We will explain on the way.
As the Princess of the Night walks past the 2 stunned friends, her body shimmering with the power of the night, both mares get to their hooves to follow her. The trio moves swiftly over the fields towards the Everfree Forest where it all began. A race against time has begun. Though they move swiftly on 3 sets of 4 hooves through the streets of Ponyville and up a hill beyond, a sound can be heard, as the horrific abomination of a Fae stalks its prey, following the threads that are visible to its otherworldly senses. A sound can be heard echoing across the land, the sound of a trickling stream of water.
Support me on Patreon. Subscribe and make sure to ring that notification bell to know when I post new content. And please, feel free to join the Lotus Garden. Links in the description. Thanks for listening, and look forward to more. Good night, every pony.